Good morning. Thanks for joining. We're just waiting for a few more people to enter the room.
Hello.
Ding. Fantastic. Well, I'll get started. My name's Ashley Volz with the BC Economic Development Association. Thanks for joining us today. I'm zooming in from the unceded traditional lands of the Stolo people, Saltamuk, and it's Economic Development Week. We're right in the middle here, celebrating the Community Information Tool webinar. Tomorrow, we have a Community Investment Opportunities Tool webinar, and Friday, we've got a webinar with WeBC, from champions to ambassadors. And communities around BC are celebrating. The city of Penticton proclaimed this week as Economic Development Week in their city and also handed out cookies to local businesses as a thank you. We've launched some new content on our website, as well as the Invest in BC magazine. Our 2023 issue is now available at investinbc.com. We've got some great stories, including First Nations mean business, the clean energy advantage, British Columbia, the sustainable advantage, as well as regional profiles that you can easily share a link to on your website. We've also added over 50 new stories to the ECDev in Action website. Here are best practices and some inspiration for your next initiatives. It's no coincidence that this week is also Emergency Preparedness Week. I'd like to send a quick acknowledgement to our friends of the Okanagan Indian Band, the City of Grand Forks, and the village of Cache Creek, who are dealing with some natural disasters. And a reminder that we do have economic disaster preparation resources on the BC EDA website, including a manual for economic developers, documents like the 10 steps to prepare your business for evacuation that you can share with your business community, and templates for economic recovery, like your economic recovery meeting agenda, a communications strategy, and media release. That's all I have. I'd like to hand it over to the Connected Communities team.
Thank you for that, and Ashley, we appreciate you having us here. We're really excited to show off our community information tool today. Sue is just going to be sharing her screen. So, okay, there we go. It's up and going. Before we get started, we want to respectfully acknowledge that we are all joining today from different territories across British Columbia. I am grateful to live, work, and play from the traditional territory of the Lekwungen peoples, known today as the Esquimalt and Songhees Nation. This is where I always get to do my kit demos from, so nothing changed today. So I'm Raman Sangara. I'm the innovation strategist with the Connected Communities team within the connectivity division in the big umbrella of Ministry of Citizen Services. With me today is Sue Morty. She's the application lead for this tool, as well as Justine Peets, who is the communications extraordinaire. Today, we're going to do about a 15-minute presentation and a 20-ish minute demo of a tool called the Community Information Tool, which presents open source data visually in one place. You can go ahead and type questions in the chat throughout the whole presentation and demo. Justine will be looking at the chat and making sure all the questions will be answered. We have time at the end to answer questions, but if I'm talented enough, I'll try to weave them into the presentation of the demo. But maybe I might test myself today. All right, so we can go ahead and get started. Have you ever had a hard time finding data for BC communities, or do you find it difficult to find one place to get a ton of community data, or do you just find government data confusing to analyze? As government employees or BC government employees, we do find it kind of confusing, even though we do have to analyze it, so we get it, but that's where we can help. The community information tool has data on communities that is easy to use and easy to read, and that is what our demo and presentation is on. So first, we're going to start with who we are and why we're here. As we've kind of already mentioned, but we are connected communities and we support the digital readiness of local governments, First Nations, and regional organizations. We are in the connectivity division where we support communities to get set up with high-speed internet and cellular service. Today, we will give a general overview of the community information tool. I might say kit as well. We lovingly call it the kit, so sorry if I keep interchanging. But yeah, so we'll give an overview of the tool and how it can benefit economic development practitioners and those involved in economic development within all levels of government. So what is this tool, you might be wondering? It is a one-stop shop for information about communities in BC. It offers insights into statistical info where you can find data on connectivity, facilities, social, and economic data. So when we say facilities, we're saying places like hospitals, schools, other data like social and economic data. We're talking about labor force statistics and census population stats. You can find it all in this one place. So it aggregates data from Stats Canada, the BC Data Catalog, and other provincial and federally vetted websites. So it rolls up all this data from all these different places and puts them in one place so you can find it easily. So how can the community information tool help you? We have 3 prongs to this. So we have the learn, the discover, and the compare. When we say learn, we're talking about learning about a community or region in a very high level way, but getting that basic high level view of what's happening in a community. When we say discover, you can use criteria you have based on your work to input parameters to find communities that fit that specific criteria. And when we say compare, you can compare 2 areas or 2 regions, communities against one another to see the differences or the similarities. And now Sue's going to go and dive in deeper into these 3 ways you can use the tool.
The community information tool can be used in 3 different ways. The first way is by learning more about a specific area of the province. Learn more about an area allows you to select a specific geographic area, such as a regional district or economic area, and view reports that present connectivity, facility, economic, and social data for your selected area. In the connectivity report, you can see the overall status of connectivity for your selected area of interest. In the facilities report, you can view a wide range of facilities available within your selected area, such as schools, hospitals, airports, and emergency social service facilities. In the economic report, you can view statistics related to the local economy for your selected area, such as education levels, labor force information, business, industries, and key resource sectors. And in the social report, you will find census information related to population, visible minorities, income, and housing. The next area of the community information tool allows you to discover areas within the province that meet criteria you define. Within Discover an Area, you can use the geographic filter if you are only interested in a particular area of the province, such as a specific economic or health authority region. You can use the economic filter to find areas of the province that meet your criteria for access to connectivity, income, unemployment rates, working age, and more. Users can also use the proximity filter if you want to highlight areas that have key facilities nearby, such as a school or a hospital. Using these filters will help you narrow down what areas of the province meet a range of criteria that you define. And the third and final way you can use the community information tool is with the comparison feature. This tool allows you to compare 2 regions of the province side by side. For example, you can compare one economic region to the entire province or one community to another community. The ability to select 2 areas to compare and view key statistics about those areas allows you to easily see how your chosen areas of interest differ from one another, as well as you can see where there's similarities between your selected areas. And now we're going to move on to the demo portion of the tool.
All right, let's get into the demo, the fun stuff. Again, please post your questions in the chat. If I'm going too fast, let me know. If I'm going too slow, let me know. I'm down for any sort of feedback. So I'm going to set up a bit of a scenario that we're going to do today, and then we're going to just do that in the demo. So the scenario we're doing is identifying communities that lack connectivity and emergency services and may be significantly impacted by natural disasters along the BC coast. I'm going to just pretend that I'm a BC government employee, and that is why I need to research this. But first, I'm going to tell you about what we're looking at right now. This is the home page, and those buttons that Sue is playing with is our user story. So she said she's a representative of the community, and she's interested in discovering an area with particular characteristics, and then she's pressing let's go. So the cool thing about it is it creates a bit of a user journey, and then it shows you the report. And so this is the criteria report that we were talking about, the second one that Sue was talking about, or the discover. And this is what you get once you click on it. It's a bit overwhelming at first, but that's what I'm here to do, is to walk you through it. The first three filters on top are just the different filters that Sue was talking about: the geographic filter, the economic filter, and the proximity filter. For this specific use case, we're looking at all of British Columbia, and then you can see below the filters there's a map, and then next to the map is a list of census subdivisions and communities. In this scenario, we were saying that we are looking for communities that lack connectivity. You can see in the economic filter that there is a percent of households with 50/10, which means high-speed internet. So we're gonna just narrow it down. So it's only looking for communities that have 0 to 50% connectivity. Anything below 50%, we're assuming, is not great connectivity levels in a community. And you can see that the report is already filtering. You can see the map filtering and the list on the side filtering. Next, we're gonna look at the proximity filters, because we're saying that there's no emergency services nearby. So when you look at these, once they load up, you'll say there's no hospital nearby, there's no pharmacy nearby, and there's no first responders nearby. You can see that it starts loading and filtering out so you can find relevant communities. It takes a second to load because there's just so much data in here, but I promise you it does load. And then there we go. We can see that there's 162 communities that fit this bill and 53 census subdivisions. But if you remember, there's one part about this that we haven't filtered out, and that is the BC coast. We're looking for communities that would be impacted by natural disasters on the coast. So we're going to zoom in and then highlight the regions near the coast. And then you'll see the list is filtering down from there. So you'll see on the list that first you see the census subdivisions, and then you click the plus sign and you'll see communities. From this, we're gonna just choose I want to say random community, but we did actually look at the community beforehand. We'll look at Central Coast A, a census subdivision, and Goose Bay as the community. And maybe we want to learn more about Goose Bay. So we're going to go scroll to the top and adjust our user story. We went into I'm interested in learning more about the province. That's the learn factor that Sue was talking about. And then I would like to look at communities, and then she searched for Goose Bay, and then we're going to go into view results for your new search. This way we can learn a little bit more about Goose Bay and what's really going on there. Why is it so vulnerable? Once this report loads up, it looks like a totally different report than the criteria or discovered report. So here we have 4 tabs. We have the connectivity, the facilities, and the economic and social. Right now, we're just going to focus on connectivity because one of the main factors is that this region is not connected. So Sue has zoomed in on the map and you can see a bit more about Goose Bay. You can see there's a total of households of 156 and none of them have 5010 connection, which is high-speed internet connection, which isn't the greatest thing ever because that means that it's difficult for this community to get help in case of an emergency because internet services are severely lacking. Without access to that reliable high-speed internet, the community might be unable to communicate that they need help if they ever need help, right? And then we can go to the facilities tab to see if maybe there's some emergency services nearby that aren't within the radius. So you'll see the map has a blue line radius of what the census subdivision is that encompasses Goose Bay. And you'll see that there's no emergency services in there if you were to zoom in. And then you'll see on the side that there is a first responders nearby. So if you were to look at that, you actually notice that it is the Coast Guard located in Bella Bella or the Ocean Falls Fire Department that are the first responders nearby. So they're not actually in the census subdivision per se, but they are surrounding, so they are closer, but not actually in or around Goose Bay. So if you were one of those 156 households in Goose Bay, you might be in fear of what could happen when you have no connectivity and can't get in touch with an emergency service provider, which is something as me as a representative of the community or a BC government employee wants to see if I can fix, right? And now I have some proof that there is nothing nearby. From our research, we can see that Goose Bay is a great example of a vulnerable community that would be significantly impacted by a major natural disaster along the coast. So we've now walked through a bit of a demo, and you can see that we didn't explore the two tabs of economic or social, but we want to explore those. So let's throw away the user story that we were working with and look for a different community. So we're going to go with Saanich because that is a community I'm very familiar with since I live in it. And we're going to go to view results and look at the economic and social tabs and explore those a bit more. So if we go to the economic tab, something you've probably noted by now is that there's census data on all the tabs. And now I'm going to talk about it a bit more since we're out of the little scenario. The census data just is a roundup of census population statistics. The cool thing about the census data is that we have 2021 data and 2016 data. And you can just flip through the toggle there and see 2016 data compared to 2021 data. So here in 2016, the population was 114,000, and now in 2021, the population is 117,000, going up by 3%. If you scroll down the economic page, you'll see education and labor force stats and business stats, and if anything is of interest to you, you can see that the source is right next to the title. So if you were to look at the labor force stats, you can see that the source is the BC data catalog. And if you clicked on that source, it would take you to where the raw data exists. So within here, the raw data exists for all of the data, and you can download the CSV file or the Excel file and just play around with the raw data if you're someone super comfortable with data like that, and you don't need it all of that. But yeah, that's just a bit of the economic page. And then when you go to the social page, you'll see the census demographics as well. And the social page is made up of a ton of census demographics. So in here, the 2016 and 2021 toggle actually filters out the whole page, which is kind of cool. And you'll see population by age and gender. You'll see some visible minority data. If you go down, it'll talk about housing and income. And it gives you just a good representation of what's going on in Saanich right now.
This is a really neat tool. I can see communities using it, especially the first search feature that you walk through. Say there's a business that's interested in locating in your town, but requires certain services. That's a really good example of how an economic developer could use that tool as well.
Yeah, that is a great example of how they could use it. And then there's one last way you can use this tool, and it is the the compare function. So again, we're going back to the user story and we're going into, and I'm interested in comparing an area to another area. We're going back to good old Goose Bay because we're all familiar with it now. And so you can see you can filter at the top. It says compare areas and it says select areas to compare. We click community and we filtered for Goose Bay. And then we clicked another community and we filtered for Prince Rupert. We preloaded this just because it does take a while to load in all the data. And today is just one of those days where we're just, you know, technology is failing everyone. So we don't want to risk anything. But yeah, so once you do that, you can filter for the communities you want to compare. And since they're both coastal communities, it's kind of fun to compare them. Like the census demographics, there's only 149 in Goose Bay, but 12,000 in Prince Rupert. You can see that the population in Goose Bay is going down, whereas the population in Prince Rupert is going up. And Prince Rupert has almost 100% connectivity, just one household that doesn't have it, high-speed internet, whereas Goose Bay doesn't have as much connectivity, which is just making Prince Rupert maybe a more a place that you may want to stay more likely. If you go down, you can see some labor force stats. You can see the participation rate in the labor force is around the same. The unemployment is a bit higher in Prince Rupert, likely because their population is higher. But if you keep scrolling down, you can just see more data. So the top resource sectors and the business counts, and you can just do a bit of a comparison of what's going on in these two regions that are both coastal towns. So that's a quick roundup of what the kit can do. Now, I'm going to go into the questions. I think we have one question, but we will wait for more. And if you do have more questions, you can always send us an email at kitinfo@gov.bc.ca, and Justine will provide that in the chat, and she'll provide a link to the community information tool too, so you can go ahead and explore, because this tool starts making a lot more sense once you start exploring it yourself. And then when you have questions, just email us at kitinfo@gov.bc.ca. We're pretty good at responding, and we love seeing your questions and comments. There is a question in the chat from Johan. Is there a way to filter the data by language spoken? I work with the Francophone community, and that would be an interesting information to have. That is a really good question. There isn't any way to do that at this moment, unless you, Sue, you have some other answer to that, because you are showing us something on the screen.
No, there is no current ability to search for communities that have like by language. Not currently. No.
Okay.
That's a great piece of feedback, though, to incorporate in future iterations. We're always looking for feedback and guidance about what data sets would be useful to our users. And I know that the language one has come up in the past, so that's a great point. So thank you.
I'll wait a little bit longer for any other questions that are coming our way. You can also take yourself off mute if you want to. This doesn't feel like I'm talking to just myself.
Do you mind navigating back to where you selected first responders and things? What are those other search features that we can?
So if you want to, you could just zoom in as well, because now that I'm looking at it, it's hard to really look at it, but I'm not sure for everyone because I don't have it full screen. While that's happening, there is another question. Is there any info available on the number of people in a community with disabilities? This is a big priority for provincial governments, and local governments need to respond to address needs for these people. At this moment, we don't have any data on like specific, like we have visible minority data, but we haven't broken it up. We are looking into adding new data eventually, like that is a big goal of ours. And we were looking at census data that does break down visible minorities more. We just have to find the best source to get that data, but that is a really good point, Terry, and we will definitely look into that a lot more. All right, Sue, there we are with the economic filters. So we have percent of households, 50-10, which is high-speed internet. We have population trends. So if the population has decreased or increased, we have education. We have working age population ratio, household income, unemployment rate, and share of employment in the natural resource sectors for the economic filters. And then when we go into the proximity filters, we have stuff like airports nearby, hospitals nearby, pharmacies nearby, post-secondaries nearby, public libraries, port and terminal, timber facilities, and I can't see all of the major projects, first responders, and then community technology type or custom ports of entry. So those are all of the filters we have. And again, we're always looking for more data to add here. We just need to find the sources. So if you ever have anything that is a good source, you can send it our way because we are happy to add it, or we're happy to look for data as well. So like the communities with disabilities, we will definitely go back and look into that more. All right, I'll wait a couple more seconds for some more questions, or not just a couple seconds, so we'll wait longer than that.
I'm really looking forward to exploring the tool further. I think it's really something you have to kind of dive into.
Definitely.
And very useful information for building your community profile, or again, like I said, for providing additional information to businesses that are looking for services in your community.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
region.
That is exactly how we want everyone to use it as well. So I think that might wrap it up. If you do have more questions, again, email us. We're happy to answer them. But thank you so much for being such an attentive audience and having us here to present this. Ashley, it's just great to get to present this and show this to the public and see what they see or see what else they want to see in this tool. So thank you.
Of course. If anybody's not signed up for tomorrow's webinar, do you have a little pitch for them?
Oh my goodness, how could I forget? So tomorrow's seminar is the community investment opportunities tool. So that is a tool that helps showcase investment opportunities within BC when it comes to agricultural, commercial, and industrial lands. We're going to just showcase how that tool can be used by community representatives to showcase the land opportunities. And we are working with JEDI, so the jobs, oh gosh, I can never remember what the ministry name is. But
Jobs, Economic Development, and Innovation.
And innovation. Thank you, Ashley. We're working with that team to get this tool in the hands of investors. So we're working with communities to get sites uploaded and working with investors so they will actually look at these sites. And we're really happy to showcase it here. So yeah, see you tomorrow because I know you'll all come to that.
We'll be there. Thanks very much. And I hope everybody is enjoying Economic Development Week. Feel free to email BCEDA or the Connected Communities team for more information. And we'll send the recording post webinar here as well.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.